Hey guys, it's Christy and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to be reviewing the new Pat McGrath Celestial Nirvana eyeshadow palette. So before we get into it, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel before you leave. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy, and let's get into it. Alright guys, so we have the new Celestial Nirvana palette from Pat McGrath. Mine definitely came in a little later, but it's fine. I do also have the two new mini palettes that were released in this collection on their way to me as well, so we will be reviewing those as soon as they get here. So this is the large palette for holiday 2022. This is made in Italy and has an 18-month shelf life, which is pretty good. It's pretty standard for all Pat palettes. This one feels a little bit heavier to me than last year's. I have Celestial Odyssey here for comparison as well. This year's does feel a little bit heavier. Comparing them side by side, Celestial Odyssey is a little bit longer, but Celestial Nirvana is a little bit taller. So that's the main difference. And this does retail for $82 US or 107 Canadian. And you get 18 shades. So this is definitely going to be a much better deal in many ways. A decent value for Pat McGrath, considering her 10 pan motherships retail for around 170 Canadian. So this is kind of a better way to try her formula. However, you just don't get a lot of her special shades, such as the Astral Blitz. So opening this up, this is held together with a pretty strong magnet, and then you have the standard ribbons. This is meant to sit on your vanity while you do your makeup. So a lot of people have been very excited about this color story because this is pretty innovative for Pat McGrath. She typically really stays with these bronzes, pinkies, reds. That's typically her go-to. And I think a lot of people thought that's what was coming when we saw the pink packaging. But she really stepped it up with this one. So she also divided it into sort of sixes, like this is a palette, and so is this one. So that's kind of how I'm going to work with it as well. I've mentioned before, I'm not the best at looking at a colorful palette and trying to figure out exactly what I should be doing. And I found that Celestial Odyssey was a little bit more chaotic in layout. Like if I show you directly, this is Celestial Odyssey. And I do love this one, but it's only got 4 mattes, which I find is a little bit light on the matte. So you get a pink and a brown and a pink and a brown. So that's all you got for mattes in this one, which to me made it just a little bit harder to work with, and the layout is a little bit more chaotic. Whereas this one, I like how they're all lined up nicely. I like that we have a lot more mattes this year. I like the way she's kind of designed it. So looking at it in that manner really works for my mind. So I'm definitely pleased with that. I love that she really played with color, but I love that you can still create some very neutral everyday looks with this if you really want to stick with these browns. Let's look at some swatches. If you're new to my channel, I am the world's worst swatcher. Okay, so here we have Nightfall, which is like a taupey brown, but it's got like a purple undertone to it. And then we have Bronze Infatuation, which is super beautiful. And then we have Altered State, which I actually think is gorgeous as well. So then we have Cosmic Champagne, which is one of my favorite types of shades. I just love shades that are that tone. Then there is Desert Divinity, which is just like a taupe brown. It's going to be a beautiful transition. And then we have Guilty Opulence. Okay, so then we have, I told you guys I'm bad at this. So then we have Nocturnal Navy, Lunar Lavender, which is a really beautiful, really beautiful shade. I love that one. Then there is Eternal Amour, which is just kind of like a pinky shimmer. Then there is Fabulosity, which I think a lot of people are excited about. Then there is Violet Vixen and Aquarian Dream. I love Aquarian Dream. I think this looks absolutely stunning. That's got to be the prettiest blue eyeshadow I've ever seen. Okay, so then we have Auburn Allure, Golden Angelica. Then we have Flame Fatale and Heavenly Bronze. Then we have Starlit Copper and Venusian Peony. So all very beautiful. I will say That Heavenly Bronze felt almost wet. It's that type of shade, so I really found that interesting. It definitely packs a lot of pigment to it, which I love to see. If my lighting has changed, it's because one of my soft boxes stopped working and I cannot get it to come back on, so I'm just using one right now. But let's just get into creating a look. I think I'm gonna do one look today, and then I'm going to have a multiple looks, one palette video coming a little later on. There is so much I want to do with this palette, but for now I just really want to create the look that's been in my mind, and let's just get into it. I'm just going to start with Desert Divinity, and I'm just going to take that one in the crease. So there is a look on the Pat McGrath Instagram that I really want to create, but I'm going to do that another day. I am a little pressed for time today, but I will create that one. It's like, it's got the purples and a little bit of a pink, and it's got the blue. I really want to create that look, but there's another look I've also had in mind that involves the green and the gold. I'm sure others have 100% played with those, with that color combination, but in my head I think it's gonna look very Christmassy almost. I know that's still a ways off yet, but this is supposed to be the holiday palette. So this shade is a beautiful transition shade. It's very pigmented. This shade is so beautiful for a transition. It's just very easy to work with, and I just wanted something down as a base for that green. Now I'm going to go into Altered State. She is pigmented. Okay, so one thing I will say about this palette is you do get a good mix of neutrals. Oh, but it blends out so nicely. So you get a good mix of neutrals, but there is a lot of color in this palette. What I will say about that is I am somebody who doesn't play with a lot of color. Color kind of, well, it makes me nervous. I am just, if I do tend to go for color, I go for something very monochromatic. So if I'm going for example, if I'm playing with purple, it's going to be all purple. I'm probably not going to throw in any extras. I don't know how to make that work, and I don't feel like visually I can do that. There are some creators, such as, say, Angelica Nyqvist. She can throw a color down and it looks phenomenal. I have no idea how people know what's going to work with what. I imagine there's some color theory going on there, and I understand color theory to a certain degree, but not when it comes to colorful eyeshadows. However, this palette does not make me feel intimidated. When I'm looking at this palette directly, I just want to create different looks. And I'm really super loving this green. So I'm just going to go back in with the brush I used for my crease shade. I'm just going to lightly blend. I didn't add any more product. I just want to mesh them together. Now I'm going to go into Guilty Opulence, and you can tell by now I am trying to do a halo eye. What I love about this gold shade is that it has almost a green shift to it. So I just think it's going to be such a good match for this green. Okay, I'm just taking one of the brushes I used to do my green and just kind of bringing it into that shimmer just a little bit. And just as I suspected, these are working incredibly well together. And I love the way that looks. This is definitely a very Christmassy kind of look. I can definitely see myself rocking this look on Christmas Eve. This is definitely something I would enjoy. I'm definitely giving myself a Christmas kind of vibe at the moment, and I don't hate it. I love Christmas. And I will say this look is definitely, I feel like, a little more on the loud side for me, but I don't mind that. Sometimes that's exactly what you need to do. So I'm hoping to have multiple looks up maybe this weekend. I am planning, I do have the new ABH Rose Metals palette coming in, and I also have the new Charlotte Tilbury single shadows. I have a couple of those coming in to review, and I also have the Pat McGrath 5 pans. So there's going to be a lot of reviews coming in. It's just that time of year. I love this time of year for makeup releases. As a YouTuber, it can be a bit stressful, but at the same time, as a makeup lover, it is the most exciting time. I did decide against picking up the new Huda palette because between the new ABH and the Natasha Denona My Dream, I just don't think I'm gonna need it. And I wasn't head over heels for the color story anyway, so I did decide against that. Okay, let me pop off camera, pop on some mascara, and I will be right back. All right, you guys, so here is the final look. I like how it turned out. I kind of do wish I hadn't done the halo eye, and I kind of wish I had just gone with the gold all over the inner portion of the lid. I think that would have been really pretty, but at the same time, I love a good halo eye, so why not? I like the way this turned out. I like how easy the shadows were to work with, and again, this was only 3 shades. I probably should have used more, I know, but after swatching all of these, looking at all of these, I'm very, very excited to create so much more. I love this. So I love this shade that I tried out. The green was so easy to work with, and then the gold was perfect. I love how that gold has a bit of a green shift. I think it fits so perfectly with this one. I do think that Pat McGrath designed this one pretty well. I will say I am the very most excited to work with these center shades. I think because I do want to play with that blue. I really want to play with the purple. I want to play with this bronze. I think it looks stunning. This shade here looks so exciting and beautiful. So I'm very excited to be playing with all of these very, very soon. I will say that the quality in this palette is pretty much exactly the same as what we had in Celestial Odyssey. I did not pick up the holiday palette from 2020, so I can't speak to that one, but I do think that this is a very good quality. I've heard some people say that the quality of these versus the motherships is a little bit hit or miss. I personally don't think so. I think the quality is just as good. I think the quality on this is absolutely fabulous. Do I think it's $82, $107 worth it? No, I don't think any eyeshadow is worth that, but for Pat McGrath, this is an incredible formula. Compared to the formula in the Mothership palettes, I personally think this is just as good. The only thing you're not going to get in here is some of her special formulas, like the Blitz Astrals, which are just very, very sparkly. If that is something that's important to you, then maybe this isn't your favorite, but for me, I think she still does a really great job at playing with different formulas and creating just a really, really solid formula for each texture. The shimmers are beautiful. The metallics are beautiful. This shade is so wet to the touch. I love it. And the mattes, they just work together so well. I do think this is worth it. And I do think it's more worth it than a Mothership. You get 8 more shades and you get such a range. I will say I do think I prefer this one over Celestial Odyssey. I love Celestial Odyssey. Keep that in mind. But again, like I mentioned, there was only 4 mattes and I found the color story to be a bit chaotic, whereas this one, there is a lot more mattes and you can really work with it. I also like the way she's organized it. And like I mentioned, when I look at this color story, I feel inspired instead of kind of intimidated. And there is only one other palette that packs a bit more of a bold color that I'm not afraid of, and that is the ABH Nirvana Volume 5. When I look at that one, I feel so super inspired, and I feel the exact same way when I look at this palette. So for that reason, I am so excited to have this one in my possession. I think she did a great job with this one. I think she did a great job curating the color story. I think she came out with a really great range. I love that she threw in some blues, some purples, and overall, I just think she did a really beautiful job. I think this is different for Pat, and I think that this is a really nice change. So very excited about this. I'm very excited to keep playing with it. I can't wait to create so many more looks, but overall this gets a stamp of approval from me. Let me know down below if there's anything you want to see, or if you're planning to pick this one up, or maybe you already did. Let me know. So thank you so very much for watching. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do upload at least 3 new videos every single week. And that is it for me today. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!